Hello, sports fans. It's me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke, and I am here today to do Game 2 of my National League, 1978 National League Championship Series. And if you've been following along, you know that I've started the entire 1978 playoffs in Strat-O-Magic alternate world, and I began that by doing the one-game playoff between Boston and New York in the American League, and Boston actually won in my world, so they advanced to the ALCS against Kansas City instead of the New York Yankees. And presently that series is tied up 1-1, and Dennis Leonard pitched a no-hitter last night for the Kansas City Royals against Boston, so you might want to go check that game out because it was pretty exciting. I mean, I've never had a no-hitter before in my life, so that was the first one, and it was on tape, which is great. So anyway, that series is tied 1 apiece, but we come into this game here in the National League Series with the Phillies being down 1-0 to the Dodgers. And in real life, the Dodgers actually won the series and advanced to play the Yankees. So right now, they're up 1-0. They won the first game of the series by the score of 5-3. So if you didn't see that game, I would highly recommend that you go watch that game. Lefty Steve Carlton got his butt handed to him by LA in that one. But in this one, we have two new pitchers going up for the teams. And for the visiting Philadelphia Phillies in this game, it will be Dick Ruthven. And he will be facing off against, there was his card. And he'll be facing off against Tommy John for the LA Dodgers. And there's Tommy John's card. And so without any further pomp and circumstance, let's get started here. We've got Gary Maddox leading off and playing center field for the Phillies. You remember the saying about Maddox is 2/3 of the world is covered by water and the other third is covered by Gary Maddox. And that's a 5-6, and that is going to be a fly ball to left field, so he is out. Fly out to 7. And that brings up Bake McBride. And he gets a 111, which is a ground ball second base. So he bounces out 4-3. And that brings up Michael Jack Schmidt, and he strikes out. And that's the first K of the game for Tommy John. And that brings up for the... oh, hold on. I got to get the pitcher's batting cards. I almost forgot about that. All right, so let me see. Ruthven is a 3-hitting pitcher. So let's go get 3 for him and put that in where he has to hit. Glad I didn't forget that. And Tommy John is a 1-hitting pitcher, so we'll get the 1-hitter's pitcher card for him. And put that in. So there you go. We got the pitcher's hitting cards in place. We're ready to go. Davey Lopes leading off for LA in the bottom of the first. And he gets a 4-9. Wait a minute, no, he didn't. 4-9 is a single. So Davey Lopes leads off with a single off of, oh, wait a minute. Yes, off of Ruthven. So that's a hit allowed by Ruthven. And Davey Lopes is a AA stealer, so they're going to send him. Even though it's a -4 arm, they're still going to send him, and he does make it. So we got a stolen base by Lopes. And that brings up Bill Russell. And Bill Russell gets a 3-8, which is a single. and they may send him. He's a 1-17 runner, and the ball was hit to right field, and the right fielder's arm for the Phillies is Bake McBride, and he is a +1, so definitely they're going to send him home, and he does make it. So that is actually an RBI. So there we go. And so now that brings up Reggie Smith. And Reggie Smith gets a 5-7, which is a double 1 to 12. And that's a single double asterisk. So that sends Russell to third. And Reuben gives up another hit. And he's already given up an earned run. And that brings up Ron Say. And he gets a 5-4, which is a third base X. And third base is Schmidt, and he's a 1. And that's a 1. And that's going to be an out double play. And there were no outs, so that's just 2 outs and a run scores. So, yeah. Let's see. 5-4, third base. 5-4-3. And another run comes in, and then that brings up Steve Garvey, and he gets a 2-5, which is a ground ball to shortstop. So he bounces out 6-3. But the Dodgers did strike for 2 runs and lead 2-0 after 1. That brings up Greg Luzinski, the Bull, 6'4". That is a catcher card. And the catcher is a 1. That's Steve Yeager. Yeah, Steve Yeager's a 1, and that's a 9. 9 and 1 is a pop out, 1 away. So pop out to 2. That brings up Hebner, Richie Hebner, and he gets a 3-7, which is a triple 1 to 3 or a single. And he gets a single. So that's a hit, first hit given up by Tommy John, and that brings up Bob Boone. He gets a 4-9, which is a single. It's actually a single on both pitchers. So that's a single, and runner goes to second. And that's another hit given up by Tommy John, and Larry Bow is up with 1 out. And that brings up 6-3, and that's a strikeout, 2 away. And that brings up Ted Sizemore with 2 on and 2 out. And he gets a 5-2, which is a ground ball, first base C. So he gets a 4-3.
No.
Wait a minute.
It's over here. Yeah, he's over here.
What are you doing? So let's see, 3-2.
Georgie.
Whatever, I'm just going to say 3-1. He's out. Anyway, so no runs come in. We go to the bottom of the second. And that, in the bottom of the second, that brings up Rick Monday. 6-3 is a first base. First base is a 3. That's a 12. 12 and 3 is an out. 1 away. So let's see. That's we'll just say ground out 3. Baker's up. 1-3 is a ground ball shortstop, 2 away. 6-3. And Steve Yeager comes up, and that's 6-11. 6-11 is a ground ball to the pitcher, and Ruben is a 2 defensively. And that's a 12-2 one base error by the pitcher, Dick Ruben. So Yeager gets on by an error. E1. And so we'll mark that down over here. And then that brings up the pitcher to bat, which is Tommy John, and he's a 1, and that's a 3-9, and that's a ground ball. So he grounds out to third base, so it's 5-3. They get out of the inning, no runs allowed, no runs scored for the Dodgers, and that brings up the Philadelphia Phillies, and that brings up Dick Ruben in the top of the third to lead off the pitcher, and he strikes out, and that's a strikeout for Tommy John. And then Gary Maddox comes up, and that's a 5-8, and that is a fly ball center field. Gary Maddox flies out to 8. And then with 2 outs, that brings up Bake McBride, and he gets a 1-3, which is a strikeout. So there's a strikeout. Tommy John gets his man, and no runs come in for the Phillies. That brings up Davey Lopes, gets a 2-4, which is a ground ball pitcher, and he's out. So let's see. Bottom of the third, ground ball, ground out, 1-3. And that's 1 away. Bill Russell gets a 4-7, which is a single 1-3, or no, single 1-13, and that is a single. What about a single 1-3? So hit allowed by Dick Ruben, and that brings up Reggie Smith, 2-6. A home run. Reggie Smith hits a 2-run homer, so that's 1 and 2 and 2 RBI. So let's put the 2 RBIs in there. Yeah. And Ruben gave up the hit and the 2 earned runs. And that brings up Ron Say. Ron Say gets a 3-8, which is a single 1-5 with the bases cleared now. And that's 2 away. What is that? What was that? 3-8. There's a line out to second base. So line out 4. And Garvey is up, and that's a 2-10, which is a ground ball shortstop. So 6-3, he bounces out. And there are no runs, or yes, actually 2 runs come across. And the Dodgers are ahead 4-0 in the top of the 4th. So in the top of the 4th, we have Michael Jack Schmidt coming up, 5-5, and that's a ground ball shortstop on Tommy John. And that is a 9, and the shortstop is a 3. Let's see if that's something. 9-3 is an out. 1 away. That was Schmidt. So he bounces out 6-3. Greg Luzinski, the bull, is up and he strikes out. And that's the 5th strikeout for Tommy John, who has yet to give up a run. And Richie Hebner gets a 2-7, and that's a strikeout. And that's a 6th strikeout for him. And no runs come across for Philadelphia in the 4th. And that brings us to the bottom of the 4th, and the Dodgers will send up Rick Mundy, Dusty Baker, and Steve Yeager. And that's a 2-11, which is a strikeout on Monday. And there's a strikeout. And Dusty Baker's up. And Dusty Baker gets a 2-8, which is a ground ball third base A. So he bounces out 5-3. And then Steve Yeager, 6-6, and that's a fly ball center field B. Fly out to 8. So no runs come across there for the Dodgers. And we go to the top of the 5th, and Bob Boone is up for Philadelphia. 4-9 is a single off Tommy John. So he gets a base hit. Tommy John gives up his 3rd hit of the day. Larry Bowa is up. He gets a 1-4, which is a triple 1-7 or a double. And that's going to be a double. They're down by too much, so they can't really afford to risk scoring the runner. And that brings up Ted Sizemore, and he gets a 5-12 on Tommy John, which is a walk. So Tommy John is in some real trouble here. And now with the bases loaded and no outs and the pitcher up, they are going to pinch hit for Dick Ruthven. Let's see. Yeah, the pinch hitter is going to be, let's see, the pinch hitter is going to be Jerry Martin. So he comes in to pinch hit for Ruthven. And he gets a 4-11, which is a left fly ball left field. And the left fielder, left field X, and the left fielder for the Dodgers is Dusty Baker, who's a 3, and that's a 16. And 16 and 3 is an out, 4 runners hold. So still bases loaded, but with 1 out now instead of none. And Gary Maddox steps up. And that's going to be it for Martin. And that's a 5-11, which is a ground ball to the pitcher, and Tommy John is a defensive 2. And that's going to be something. That's a 1 base error on Tommy John. So Gary Maddox gets on by a 1 base error by the pitcher, E1, and that scores Bob Boone. And I guess it wouldn't be an earned run for Tommy John, because it would be because he made an error that allowed the run to score. And that brings up Bake McBride, and Bake McBride gets a 5-12, which is a walk, which forces in another run. And I think that would probably be an RBI. And that brings in Larry Bowa. So he's got a walk and an earned run. and 2 have scored here so far. And Mike Schmidt's up, and Mike Schmidt gets a 2-7, which is a double 1 to 10. Single double asterisk. So he gets a single double asterisk, which knocks in 2. And that's 2 RBIs. And that brings in those guys there. That's a hit. But I don't know if the 2 runs count now, because that should have been... Because there's 2 outs now. Aren't there? No, there aren't. There's still only 1 out. Right, yeah, there's still only 1 out, so those would be earned runs too. So the Phillies have tied the score, and then that brings up Greg Luzinski, who's a 4-5, which is a ground ball second base C. That moves a runner to second. There's 2 outs, and that run is not earned. And Schmidt, was that Schmidt? Yeah. No, that was Luzinski. So Luzinski ground ball second base C. So 4-3. Then that brings up Richie Hebner. And Richie Hebner gets a 1-4, which is a ground ball pitcher A. 1-3. All right, I have really no idea if I did that exactly correctly there. I've got 5-4 Phillies, but who really knows? So anyway, they did pinch hit for Ruthven, who was getting hit around the park. So they do have to bring in another pitcher. The Phillies do. And that pitcher is going to be Warren Brewster. And he'll come in. And he is a 2-hitting pitcher, so all we have to do is flip over the card, and we have to write his name in there because he'll probably go more than 1 inning. Brewster, pitcher 2. So that will bring up the Dodgers in the bottom of the 5th with not Bob Boone. Wait a minute. Did I put that in the wrong place? Yeah, no, I didn't. I don't think I did. Because Bob Boone would not be up. He was long gone. Greg Luzinski, Hebner. Martin flew out. Okay, Boone, yeah, Boone is up next inning. So, and so where's the pitcher hitting card? All right. Number 2 pitcher hitting card has to go right after Sizemore. Oh, all right. Number 2, right after. Okay, so that's set, and and we don't need this one yet, or at all right now. And so now what we have is Davy Lopes leading off in the bottom of the 5th. Lopes leading off in the bottom of the 5th, yes. No, it's supposed to be Tommy John, who is a 2-hitting pitcher. Well, actually, they're going to pinch hit for him anyway, because he got himself hit around. So Ruthven only went, this is really, I apologize, I've been thrown off my game here, but Ruthven went 4. Ruthven only went 4 innings. We're going to pinch hit for Tommy John. With Lee Lacy. So Lee Lacy is going to pinch hit. Against Warren Brewster. And he gets a 2-9, which is a ground ball shortstop, so he is out. 6-3. 1 away. And now that brings up Davy Lopes. Davy Lopes gets a 6-9, which is a strikeout on Brewster's card. So Brewster gets his first strikeout. And then Russell gets a 5-6, which is a strikeout. And Brewster strikes out his second guy, and LA gets no runs there, and now they have to pinch hit, or they have to bring in their pitcher, the new pitcher. And the new pitcher for the Dodgers will be Lance Rouchan. I don't know how you pronounce that name. Rouchan, I don't know. So Tommy John only went 5, and Rouchan will be taken over, and he's a batter 1. So let's see where. Here's Lee Lacy. So we need a new pitcher's hitting card, and that will be, we need a 1, which is right there. And Lee Lacy goes to the bottom of the LA pile. And now, the Phillies with a 5-4 lead start off in the 6th with Bob Boone. All right, hopefully I'm back on my game now and things will go a little smoother now. 5-10 on Rouchan's card is a shortstop, and the shortstop is a 3. And that's a 2. That's going to be something. 2 and 3 is a single. So a single for Bob Boone. Hit given out by Rouchan. And Larry Boa gets a 5-10, which is a shortstop, and that's the same thing. It's a 3. 7 and 3 this time at shortstop. And 7 and 3 is an out double play. So Boa bounces out 6-4-3, and then that brings up Ted Sizemore, and he gets a 3-9, which is a ground ball short, so he bounces out 6-3, and nobody gets any runs there. The Phillies don't get any runs, and that brings us to the bottom of the 6th with Reggie Smith leading off against Warren Brewster, and he gets a 1-6, which is a single 1-7, and that's a single. Hit given up by Brewster. That's the first one. He's allowed. He's a stealing C, so he's not going anywhere. Or wait, he's a no, he's a stealing B, but he's still not going anywhere. Ron Say is up, and there, gotta roll the dice again. And that's a 1-6. That's what it was anyway on the floor. So 1 strikeout because that's what it was. So Brewster's got his 3rd strikeout, and Steve Garvey steps up, and he gets a 6-7, which is a single 1 to 13 off of Brewster. And that is going to be a single, so there's 2 on with 1 out. Sends Reggie Smith to second. Brewster giving up his 2nd hit. Rick Monday is up, and he gets a 1-10, which is a ground ball, second base A. So he bounces out into a double play. 6-4-3, and no runs for the Dodgers. So we go to the top of the 7th with the Phillies still leading by the score of 5-4. Brewster would be up, but he's not going to bat. So we'll put that over here for a second, and we will find another hitter. And the hitter is going to be Jose Cardinal. So Jose Cardinal. And he'll be facing Lance Rauschman. Rauschan. Still don't know how to say that name. Fly ball right field is a 2. And that's a 5. That's probably an out. It is. So fly out to 9 for Cardinal in the 7th. Fly out to 9, and that brings up Gary Maddox. He gets a 4-7, which is a single 1 to 18 on Rauschman. And that is a single, so Gary Maddox gets a hit. Hit allowed, and he is a stealing A. He's going to try to go to second. He 1 to 15 minus 4 is 1 to 11. He just barely misses it. Gets thrown out, 2 away. And that brings up Bake McBride with nobody on and 2 out. 4-6 is a single. So they might have gotten a little too greedy there. And then that brings up Mike Schmidt with 2 outs and a man on, and he gets a 1-3, which is a ground ball, third base or second base B. So really no damage done because they wouldn't have gotten a run anyway. We go to the bottom of the 7th, and in the bottom of the 7th we're going to make a pitching change. And so Rauschman went, or wait, Brewster went 3, or no, he went 2. Brewster went 2. And so they will bring in a new pitcher, and the new pitcher is going to be Raleigh Eastwick. So Raleigh Eastwick will come on in the 7th, clean. And he is a batter 1. And so let's see what the batter, or wait, no, I didn't have one because I took it out. Cardinal. So we'll put Cardinal down at the bottom of the Philadelphia pile. And we'll get a pitcher 1 hitting card. Got one right here. So we're good to go. But in the bottom of this 7th right now, LA is up with Dusty Baker. And he gets a 5-8, which is a pop out to third base. Or wait a minute, no. They have to pop out to second base. Pop out to 4, 1 away. Steve Yeager is up, and he gets a 3-9, which is a home run 1-8. But it's a fly ball. Wait. Yeah, it's a fly ball, left field B. So it's 2 away. Fly out to 7. And that brings up the pitcher, and they will not let the pitcher hit. It will not be Rauschman hitting. Rauschan. And I'm glad he's out of the game because I can't pronounce his name anyway. So they will pinch hit for the pitcher with Jerry Grody. So Jerry Grody, pinch hitter. One thing about this Dodger team, it doesn't really have any good bench players. The starters are about it. So Grody facing Eastwick, and he gets a 6-7, which is a ground ball, second base X, and the second baseman is Sizemore, who's a 3, and that's a 3-3. That's going to be a single, and it is. So Jerry Grody comes on and gets a put him on the wrong sheet. No, I didn't. Wait a minute. No, I didn't. I don't understand why this is so hard tonight for me. All right, Jerry Grody. We're in the 7th, right? No. Wait a minute. 4, 6. Yes, we are. I don't understand what happened. Are we in the top of the 8th? The 7th. The 7th inning is over. Oh no, all right, Jerry Grody. All right, he singled. All right, God. Yes, there's 2 outs in the 7th, and Jerry Grody, 6-7, got a single. So, yeah, Jerry Grody with a single and Eastwick with a hit allowed. And Lopes is up, and he gets a 2-11 ground ball third base. And that's going to be it. He bounces out 5-3. Again, I apologize, everyone. I know this has really been laborious for you to watch because I'm losing my concentration. So for Jerry Grody, we will put in the pitcher batter again. Card, at least for right now, a 1. Doesn't really matter because probably the pitcher would not be hitting anymore if I could help it. But we do need a new pitcher to come in for the guy whose name I couldn't pronounce, and that will be Charlie Huff. So Charlie Huff comes on to try to finish the game out. Rauschman went 5. Let's see. The starter went 5. So he went 2. He went 2 as well. And now that brings up Russell in the top of the 8th. Hopefully that's what I got. Yes, it is. All right. Batting against Eastwick. And he gets a 5-7, which is a pop out to shortstop. pop out to 6 is 1 away. Reggie Smith gets a 5-9, which is a fly ball. Center field C, fly out to 8. And that brings up Ron Say, the Penguin. 6-6 is a walk. So Ron Say walks. Walk by Eastwick. And that brings up Steve Garvey, and Steve Garvey gets a 5-3, which is a first base C, and that's it. So he gets out 3, we'll say 3-1. And LA gets no runs there, and now the Phillies are up in the top of the wait a minute. Yeah, the Phillies are up in the top of the 8th. Okay. And that brings up Greg Luzinski. Greg Luzinski batting against Charlie Huff. He gets a 5-7, which is a fly ball center field, 1 away. Fly out to 8. I don't know what happened. Anyway, 3-5 is a fly ball right field B for Hebner. Fly out to 9. 2 away. And that brings up Boone, and he gets a 2-3, which is a, or no, 2-2 is a line out into as many outs as possible to second, but that's just 1 out. And so the Phillies get nothing in the 8th, which for some reason I'm thinking should be the 9th, because I have the Dodgers having already batted in the 9th, or in the 8th. But we're just going to go with it. I don't really know how I got off track here. Rick Monday will bat for LA. I mean, Rick Monday is batting for LA. Yeah, I'm going to assume it's the bottom of the 8th, really. So 310 is a home run for Rick Monday. So Rick Monday hits a home run, which ties the game, right? Yep, ties the game. Which I guess doesn't matter. Even if this had been the 9th, he would have tied the game. But anyway. And that was a run allowed by Eastwick and a hit. And Dusty Baker's up with a 6-7, which is a second base X, and that's a 3. 6-3. Second base is an out. So Baker is out. 4-3. Second base. Yeager gets a 2-4, which is a strikeout. And that's 1 away. And then the pitcher is going to come up, and they the score is tied, so they're going to let, who is this, Huff? They're going to let, yeah, this should be Huff, and he's a 4 batting pitcher. And they're going to let him go ahead and hit because the game is tied and they're running out of pitchers and pinch hitters. So they're going to let Charlie Huff hit with 2 outs and the base is empty. And that's a 2-6, which is a ground ball shortstop. So he bounces out 6-3. The Dodgers get the tying run in the 8th, and now we go to the top of the 9th. Or extra innings. Who really knows? But one way or the other, we're in the top of an inning, or the top of the inning, in a tie game. I'm pretty sure of that, regardless of what else happened or what inning we should have been in. So, in the top of the ninth, Larry Boa is up. And yeah. And he gets a 5-8 off a Huff, which is a single 1 to 16. And that is a single. Huff giving up the hit. And that brings up Ted Sizemore, and he gets a 5-6, which is a strikeout, 1 away. Strikeout for Huff. And that brings up the pitcher again. Pitcher is really coming up way too often here. All right, I'm glad this didn't happen last night in the no-hitter, because that really would have lent a little bit of non-credibility to it. But anyway, the pitcher is Raleigh Eastwick, and there's 1 on and 1 out. So the Phillies really can't let him hit. No. So they're going to go find a pinch hitter. This is really, doing the National League is really a lot tougher because of all this pinch hitters and the pitchers and all right, anyway. They're going to let Tim McCarver pinch hit against Huff. So let's put it in Tim McCarver's name, and they're getting down to the bottom of their barrel too. Tim McCarver, pinch hitter. And he gets a 4-5, which is a strikeout. So Tim McCarver struck out, and that is going to, oh no, that's 2 outs. 2 outs with a man at first, and Maddox up. And we'll put him at the bottom of the pile, and then that brings up Maddox. And Maddox gets a 4-9, which is a walk. So now there's 2 runners on with, oh, God. Walk. And that brings up Bake McBride. And he gets a 5-7, which is a fly ball B. Fly ball center field B. Fly out to 8. And that brings up Mike Schmidt. And Mike Schmidt gets a 5-11, which is a walk, which loads up the bases. Huff walks a guy and loads the bases, and they really don't have anywhere else they can go, and Greg Luzinski is up. And he gets a 1-8, and that's a fly ball right between everything. That was a fly ball left field, so he flies out to left field is a 7. Fly out 7. No runs for the Phillies in the 9th. We go to what I've recorded as the bottom of the 9th, but it may not actually be. And they need a new pitcher again. 6, 4, 6. So he went 2. Yeah, he went 2. And now the Phillies are going to bring in another pitcher. And pretty much next game, the Phillies had better get a full game out of whoever their starter is, because they are really at the bottom of the barrel. And I don't know if they have anybody. They do have one more guy at least, and that's Ron Reed. So Ron Reed will come in, and he will pitch. He's probably the last relief pitcher, literally, that Philadelphia has. And he is a one-hitting pitcher. So he will, let's see if I've got the hitting pitcher card. I do, and I have a 1. So, bottom of the 9th, right here. Hopefully the Dodgers can just end this, and I can stop with this game, because my concentration is really bad tonight. So Davey Lopes batting in what we've got as the 9th. Yes. And he gets a 6-9, which is a strikeout. Wait a minute. 6-9 is it is a strikeout on Ron Reed too. So strikeout. Reed strikes the first guy he sees out, and then that brings up Bill Russell. He gets a 3-7, which is a single. Hit allowed for Ron Reed. That brings up Reggie Smith. Reggie Smith gets a 1-7, which is a walk. So there's 2 on with 1 out. And that brings up Ron Say, the Penguin, and he gets a 5-4, which is a catcher card X. And the catcher for the Dodgers is Yeager, and he's 1. So catcher 10-1 is an out on dribbler 1. So runners are on now at 2nd and 3rd. Ron Say bounces out 1-3. And runners at 2nd and 3rd, 2 down, Steve Garvey up. Steve Garvey could end it all, 4-8, and he doesn't. He gets a strikeout against Ron Reed. So Reed with the K. And we're going to extra innings, or we're going to the 11th, depending on what really happened back there in the 8th, quasi-9th. And Richie Hebner will be the batter in the 10th, and what I've got is the 10th, against Charlie Huff. And that's a 6-10, which is a fly ball center field. The center fielder for the Dodgers is a 3, and that's Reggie Smith, and that's an 11. That's going to be something. That's going to be something big, I think. And it is a double. Richie Hebner hits a leadoff double in the 10th off of Huff. And now Bob Boone is up, and they're going to let Bob Boone hit. I was thinking of sacrificing, but really they got to let him hit. He's too good a hitter, and there's bad hitters coming up after him. 4-8 on Charlie Huff is a walk. So he walks. And these guys are in the kind of the same, not really quite as bad as the same boat, but Larry Bowa's up with no outs, right? And it's 6-4, and that's a ground ball second base C, so that moves runners to 2nd and 3rd, and the Dodgers are going to bring in the infield. Who was that, Boa? Or no, that was Boone. No, that was Boa. Yeah, that was Boa. So Sizemore is up now. Boa had a ground ball. 6-4. Yeah. 4-3. So now runners are at 2nd and 3rd. The Dodgers bring the infield in for Sizemore with 1 out. And he gets a 4-12, which is a ground ball B. And a ground ball B with the infield in. The batter is safe, and the runner on 3rd is thrown out. So now it's 1st and 2nd. The infield will go back. Sizemore is out. He's out 4-12, ground ball pitcher B. So 1-3 or 1-2 actually. And then that brings up the pitcher. And they are really at the bottom of the barrel for pitching. But they're on the road and they have to, let me see if they have anybody that can come in. They do. They have one more guy that can come in. So they will pinch hit again if they can find a pinch hitter. Actually, they have two guys that could come in. But now we have to be able to find another pinch hitter. And that would probably look like it's going to be Jim Morrison. He's going to pinch hit. So let's write him in. Jim Morrison, closing the doors, pinch hitter. And he will come up and batting against Huff. And he gets a 1-3, which is a line out to third base. Line out to 5. And so he's done. And that will bring in their pretty much the last pitcher that they have a shot at even using. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, Tug McGraw. You're Tug McGraw. So Tug McGraw is coming in. They're down to their last. Reed only pitched, let's see, 4, 6, 8, 2. Philly just got none in the 10th. 4, 6, 8. He only pitched. I know he pitched more than that. I don't know what's going on here. He has to have pitched more than 2 innings. He could not have just pitched 1. All right. I don't. This is like the Twilight Zone. I don't know what's going on here. All right, we'll mark him down for 1. I mean, you know, I know he didn't do all of this in 1 inning. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we are in the 11th. I have no idea. This is the Twilight Zone game. All right, let's just mark that down. This is the Twilight Zone game. We don't really know what happened. We're no idea where we are, but we'll see what happens. So now, Philadelphia got no runs in the 11th, is what we're going to call that. And now Tug McGraw has to come on and pitch to LA. And he is a 1, so put him down at the bottom. And yeah, Ron Reed is no longer pitching. And bottom of the 11th, LA is up. Rick Monday is up against McGraw. 5-10. That's a shortstop X, and the shortstop for Philadelphia is Boa, who is a 1. That's a 20 and a 1. It's an out. 1 away. Monday. That was Monday. Okay, over here. Monday. And I'm going to let this keep going because I just really 5'10", shortstop, so 6'3". This is just so weird that I'm going to let it go, and we're going to just find out what happens. Dusty Baker, 3-6 is a single. So that's a single off McGraw. First hit allowed for McGraw. Steve Yeager's up, and he gets a 5-9, which is a strikeout. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, Steve Yeager with a strikeout. And that's the first strikeout for McGraw. And that brings up the pitcher. Again, they're coming up way too quickly. But now there is a guy on. There's a man on with 2 outs. He's a 4, though. I'm going to let Huff hit again. And 4-10 is a home run 1-12 triple. Charlie Huff hits a triple, knocks in the winning run. Thank you, Charlie Huff. Unbelievable. Triple, RBI, those aren't even accurate. But they did get the go-ahead and the winning run, so 2-4-6 to 5. And all of the Phillies' runs were scored in one inning back in the 5th. McGraw went 1 inning. Huff went apparently 1, 2, 3, 4. He apparently went 4, except I somehow doubt that. So there you go. The winning pitcher was Huff, and the losing pitcher was McGraw. And that's the only thing I'm really certain of that happened in this game. But anyway, I would love to hear your comments, you know, where I made the mistakes. Obviously I did. If you leave a comment, hopefully you can say that yes, you are confident that even though I made some mistakes here, multiple mistakes, that the Dodgers actually did really win the game. I have no idea whether they won it in the 11th. I don't know whether they won it in the 12th. I don't know whether they won it in the 10th. So, but I'm pretty sure they won the game. So anyway, that's your final from LA. The score is 6-5. The Dodgers go up 2-0. They actually won the series in real life. And in the next game, there's going to be almost nobody available except the starting pitchers. So we'll deal with that when we come to that bridge. We'll cross it when we come to it. But anyway, that's your final score, 6-5 LA. They are up 2-0. And that's it for me for right now. Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke, signing off.